We can certainly communicate pain through the front of our throat. We can also communicate our heart from our throat chakra, from the front of our throat chakra. So the front of the throat has everything to do with our expression. And sometimes that's vocal, sometimes that comes through writing or singing or some sort of expression of self. So that can come through the throat chakra. It doesn't always have to be verbal. Sometimes it can be nonverbal. The backside, we have a backside to our throat chakra, and that area of the backside is where we connect to our higher guidance, our higher wisdom, our higher knowing, our divine messages that might come through. And it's where we receive from the divine the messages through which we want to communicate, or we can communicate clearly, and we can communicate from spirit or from our higher self. So that comes in through the back side of the throat. That comes in, what I mean by that is that life force comes in through the back of the throat to activate that connection, that portal to our higher knowing. That comes in through the backside. Another way of saying that is we can certainly connect to our creative genius through the backside of the throat, and actually through the backside of a few other chakras, but I'm going to stay focused on the throat here. So when light comes in through the back side of the throat and it's activating higher knowing, then sometimes you might get that feeling of spiritual downloads, or if you're a writer, you get into the flow and the words flow. And it's maybe not what you're aware of, but the back of the throat is opening to receive that information. And then through the front of your throat chakra, you're communicating that to the world. So what's happening here is that grace is moving, momentum is moving, consciousness is expanding. And to be clear about that, consciousness is what is waking us up and evolving us as souls in this body, on this planet, in this time period, and at any given time period. So consciousness continues to expand. We continue to evolve as a species, as spiritual beings, as human beings. We continue to evolve. So what's happening is, as consciousness is moving through our energetic spirit, or our energetic body, and our soul is becoming activated, that activation does a few things. For one, it certainly activates our mission, our purpose, our drive, our calling, that feeling of, I want to live on purpose and fulfilled in this life. I want to make impact. I want to, express myself. I have something to say. So these are all powerful, amazing ways that consciousness awakens as it comes through the backside of the body. And it does something else. It also triggers our wounds. And what that can look like is that if I, for example, I've been suppressed in some way, maybe in my femininity, or I've been suppressed vocally, or I've been suppressed, in my heart, wherever it is, that the awakening is going to start bringing that wound to the surface. And one of the ways that we move through that, or I should say act out from that place, can be vocally. And acting out might be a strong word. Sometimes it's just really expressing the wound. Expressing the wound is part of the releasing of the wound and seeing it and being aware of it. But what happens often is we'll get caught in the acting out experience. So I might feel really like I'm unsuppressing, but that outwardly looks like anger. I'm very angry. I'm releasing all this anger. I have all this anger coming out of me. And one may say, wow, you're really angry here. You're expressing your anger. And the truth is, if I could stay stuck in that for a long time if I'm not aware that I'm releasing or clearing or moving through to bring forth a higher vision or mission or purpose that really wants to come through me. So we're in a time period right now where there is a lot of vocal expression happening. And I'm speaking more to the political climate that's happening. There's opinions on both sides, and they're certainly rocking morality and moral standing in our system. And morals are very deep in the energetic body, so it can feel very, very intense and hardwired to have your morals rocked. But what's happening is that as spirit moves through and as consciousness is awakening, we're finding truth needs to be spoken. And sometimes that truth, which is getting activated by spirit consciousness, is coupled with anger. And that anger is important. The anger is going to come through with the consciousness rising to unsuppress or unblock what might feel like suppression. So the clear consciousness rising that's coming with this motivational anger is a way to clear our voice, to clear the path in order for truth to come through. If we stay in the acting out anger, it's just going to feel like anger. It's just going to feel like wounds. It's going to feel terrible. The difference in the body is that we end up feeling good when we get empowered behind our voice. And so what's happening here is that people are fighting for rights, fighting for truth, fighting for, what feels like, I'm going to call it right alignment, becoming into alignment with truth and with the divine. And that looks different for different people. But as a whole, as a collective, when we start going inward to what is truth in the body, which is this beautiful pillar of light that runs from the crown of our heads down to our tailbone, that pillar is the artery, the main artery of our being, the main truth of who we are. And when we practice self-aligning, when we practice prayer, when we practice meditation, when we practice going in to cultivating a connection in the center of our being, then that pillar of light gets stronger and brighter in our body. And truly nothing should be in that but us and God, our true soul and the light of God. That's what exists inside that pillar, inside us. And so when we're motivated to speak from that level of clarity, that pillar of truth, the energy that comes through is always in pursuit of love. It's always this vision of unity and love and connection. Ultimately, that's what we're seeking when we get very clear here. So this is sort of what's happening as you're experiencing some anger in the world, and probably your own, and you're also experiencing, on the flip side, some suppression becoming unsuppressed. So what this comes down to is that in order for us to get very, very clear on what our voice really wants to say, what our truth really is, it is a practice of tuning in and cultivating our inner voice, our intuition, getting very clear on your intuition. So to do that is a practice, and it's a practice of tuning in and meditating and getting centered and getting clear on your own truth, your own heart, the light of your soul, the light of your heart, and your voice is going to express that connection when we drop in and get very centered and clear. The majority of the world, I'm making a big generalization here, the majority of the world, the majority of the country, I should say that, there's a lot of cultures that are different than ours, live in the head. And that can be, you can make decisions from your head, you can make decisions from thinking, but thinking also can be motivated by our intuitive ability, for our intuitive sense, much of which comes through our heart. So it's interesting because it's like we want to make decisions to help us find unity and peace and connection, which are ultimately pursuits of the heart. So if we dropped into the heart and made decisions from more of an aligned, centered, heart-based place, we'd probably get there a lot faster. So my point being is that to really center and connect and develop your true sense of self and an expression, it's going to come from dropping into your intuition and getting very clear inside yourself. And I can't say that you won't hit feelings when you do that. That's part of it. That's actually one of the main motivators as to why people don't meditate. It's because they're going to have to feel what's there. And that's actually part of the meditation process, is to be strong enough, courageous enough, centered enough to be able to handle the feelings and not be afraid of them. But the feelings will pass, and the pillar of light gets stronger, and the sense of self and soul in connection with the divine starts to strengthen. And then we move through life more connected and more empowered to take action from this centered and aligned place. So one more thing to add, and that's that everyone is going to have a purpose around their throat expression, their vocal expression. Some people are going to be expressive, and that is awesome. That's part of the puzzle. The other people might be more meditative and prayerful and tuning in and tending to the spirit and connecting to the unity and heart and love. That serves a purpose. That's another part of the puzzle. And some may be expressive through multimedia or art or music or song, and that feeds the airwaves too. So the key here is that we're aware of the difference between acting out from our anger and getting very clear in the truth of who we are, and using that appropriate anger to motivate, to move into action, but action from a place of delivering truth, to delivering spirit into the world in a powerful way, an empowering spirit. So, and then the last part but the biggest part is that we're cultivating our own inner voice and really listening to that. So I hope this video was helpful. And if you'd like to learn more, you can visit my website at schoolofintuitivestudies.com. I also run programs. I run an intuitive healer training program if you're looking to develop your intuition further. I also have a series of webinars that are free, and you can go to my website to look up those webinars or join my email list where you're going to learn more about when those webinars are happening. So thank you so much. I look forward to connecting with you soon.